Are your shoulder blades causing your armhole to be wonky in the back? Today I want to talk about something that came up in my efficient workflow for bodice fitting class that I taught in April. And I'm really excited about this because in addition to sharing it with you, I want to let you know I'm updating my efficient workflow for bodice fitting to include the body-specific adjustment of a prominent shoulder blade to the blue zone. If you're familiar with this process, I have developed a fitting sort of, workflow where you start at the top of your pattern pieces, make sure the neck, shoulder, chest, upper back are all correct and that the muslin is hanging properly from your shoulder before you dive down into the pink zone, which is everything below, this upper portion where obviously your shirts are anchored on your shoulder, right? So if you can fit the shoulder, neck, and upper chest and back first, then you can worry about the vertical position of the bust dart, the waist, the hem, ease, and then some of the lower fitting adjustments that you might need for body specific things like a sway back. All of those things can be adjusted more accurately if you've got the top fitting right. And what happened in my class in April was that we did all these things, and then we were looking at the armhole on one of my students, and it looked like she had a lot of extra ease in her back armhole. So if you want to look at it here, you can see that she's got that bubble of extra ease on the back armhole up near the top, right behind the shoulder seam. First, we tried picking it up at the shoulder, and what that did was it created a tight sleeve. She needed all of that room to move her arms around. So then I was looking at her back view, and you can see that here. Notice that her shoulder blades are visible through the fabric on her upper back. Having a prominent shoulder blade puts you in a situation where you're asking a flat piece of fabric in the back of you to smooth over those curves and also shape nicely around the neckline and armhole. So what we decided to do was a back shoulder dart and also a prominent shoulder blade adjustment. These two things really, really helped her armhole to lay flat. So what I want to do is just review how to add a back shoulder dart to your pattern, and then also to give you even more shape, how to do a prominent shoulder blade adjustment. After I show you how to do these things, I'll show you the armhole edge after it was adjusted on this student's muslin. So in front of me, I've got some of my mini pattern pieces, and I'm going to start doing something every time I teach a fit adjustment. I'm going to compare it back to the original pattern piece so you can see what the change is. So I'm going to save one of these to do that with, and then I've got two more backs. So one of these backs, I'm going to show you how to add a shoulder dart first. Now, what I want you to think about here, if you're looking at your back bodice and you don't have a back waist dart, I want you to kind of imagine where that would be. So I'm just going to draw myself, the approximate position of a back waist dart. I'm just going to draw one in here. And the reason why we want to have the back waist dart sort of as a guide is because that's how you direct the angle of the shoulder dart. So I'm just going to draw a dashed line down to show you what I mean. And I mean, technically, if you don't have a back waist dart, anywhere near, the center back is a good location. So that gives you an approximate location. So really somewhere in the middle of the mid back, aim your shoulder dart towards that direction. Most shoulder darts are around 3 inches. So what I'm going to do, I'll use a different color here. We're going to mark a 3-inch line. And for this, I'm really just going to mark a 2-inch line because this is a smaller pattern. But mark the length of your dart. Then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a horizontal line across the back like this. Okay, so to create the shoulder dart, what you're going to do is you're going to create pivots at the armhole edge and the center back edge. You're going to cut through the shoulder to the horizontal line, and then you're going to cut across the pattern, but you're going to leave hinges at both ends. Now what that allows us to do is it allows us to create a shoulder dart like this. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm picking up the center back edge a little bit and I'm pushing the armhole edge out a little bit. I would start with a 3/8 to a 1/2 inch for your shoulder dart, like this. Okay, and then what I'm going to suggest here is after you spread these things, you can put some paper in there. So I'm just going to use one of my pink Post-it notes so you can really see what's happening. I'm going to tape that down. All right, and you're going to have to true up a couple things here. First of all, if you tip your center back side out a little bit, you're going to want to go back in and straighten out the center back edge because it will dip a little. So I'm going to just fill that back in. Okay, so just straighten that back out. And then to create the actual shape of the dart, what you're going to do is pleat it shut like this up at the top. And then if you cut through it while it's pleated, while it's folded shut, that will give you the shape you need, like that. So you can see it creates the shape right there. Okay, so that in itself, and I'm just going to cut it out and show you. And where am I going to put my little scraps? Right in my little tabletop trash bin that I absolutely love. Okay, so now let's look at it compared to the original pattern. I'm just going to stick it on here so you can see what happened is if I line everything up, I'm just going to trace around the neckline, the shoulder dart, and this is obviously before I shut it, and just the top of the armhole here. All right, so you can see what it's done is it's actually added a little bit of length around the edge, and it pushed out the armhole. So we've got a little bit of extra length, and we've got this part here, but of course when we fold it shut, that's gonna get rid of that. But I just want to show you here, I think it's interesting to compare. So now if I put it like this, you can see everything lines up. It's still got the extra height, but this part now goes away. But notice the pattern is not laying flat. And that's the goal of this shoulder dart, is to create some shape for the prominent shoulder blade. Now, you can think of this as a mini full bust adjustment. It's basically doing the same thing. It's creating a little bit of a cup shape for your shoulder blade, which then allows the edge of the armhole to lay against you instead of popping up. For some people, this might be enough to give you the shape you need for your prominent shoulder blade. If you find you need even more room, you can also add the prominent shoulder blade adjustment. So I'm going to show you what that is now as well. What this adjustment's going to do is it's actually going to make the shoulder dart a little bit deeper, and it's going to create some room where your shoulder blade is. So the guidelines for this are, and I'm going to do them in the same green, we are going to draw a line basically to the tip of the dart from the armhole notch like this. Okay, so from back notches to tip of dart. And then we're also going to make a second line sort of diagonally up into the armhole again. This is a small pattern, so it looks like everything is really compact, but you need to make these two lines. We're going to pivot here and here. So the way this works is I'm going to cut through the middle of, or along the side of my shoulder dart down to the armhole and create a pivot. And then I'm also going to slash in here. All right, so the reason why you need this little extra slash here is because depending on how you're pulling it out on a full-size pattern, it may overlap a little bit, but you're going to pull it out and overlap it just a little bit like this. We're creating just a little bit more room by opening up that shoulder dart. Okay, and you can see here I've added 1/8 of an inch of extra room for the prominent shoulder blade. This is a tiny little, pattern piece on, standard paper. So when you're working with your full size back pattern piece, you'll easily be able to spread that 1/4 inch. And then this little extra diagonal here will overlap a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna tape that shut here. Okay, and then let me get some of my, I guess I'll use another piece of pink here. I'm going to put this on back under here so you can see. So now what's happened is you can see we've added, and we've added to the dart. The dart is bigger. Okay, so the last thing you're going to do is redraw your dart like this. You can refold this dart closed. Let me just get rid of some of this extra paper here. And then if I now close this dart one more time, it's getting a little bit thick, but I'm just going to close it up at the top and cut it off. All right, so see, it's giving us the shape we need. We've increased the dart a little bit, and then I just want you to notice we've also increased the room that we have. So if I compare that to what we did the first time, I'm going to just put this back here. And everything's going to line up. I'm going to use a different color to show you that it swings out more. So see, you've added even more in there, right? So see, that little bit of extra was added. And then when it's closed, let me just close that. I think I'll use a clip this time to hold it. It's kind of thick. Okay, you can see we've added even more room for a prominent shoulder blade. It's really popping up now. So you may just need the shoulder dart, or you may need the adjustment on top of the shoulder dart. But what I want to do now is show you, here's what it looks like after the shoulder dart and the prominent shoulder blade adjustment. Notice how nice that armhole is laying now. And we did not touch the armhole edge at all. So the next time you're fitting a shirt, maybe take a good look at your back view and notice if your shoulder blades might be contributing to the armhole problem you're having in the back. I'm going to add this tutorial to the playlist for Efficient Workflow for Bodice Fitting, so you have it there. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below and I will help you. Thank you for watching and have a lovely rest of your day.